It's about creating a shift of consciousness, creating a state of existence where you feel in flow all the time. And I really think that that's the power of what we're sharing today. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Spiritually Hungry.
Hello.
We are going to discuss rituals again, practices that we live by. We got through only, I think, 2 points each of our list. I hope our listeners have utilized some of that information, internalized it, and created new practices. We'd love to hear from them about that. So we are going to pick up on that. Do you want to start?
Well, I just want to, because what we spoke about last week, which really ties, flows into what we're going to share today, is really this understanding that it's impossible to live the life that we're meant to be living, which is meant to be filled with joy and happiness and blessings on a daily basis, unless we are doing action. And this is everything we're going to speak about today is a way to take ourselves out of the flow of life. And the flow, I mean, the sort of the noise of life.
The robotic movements.
So,
what's interesting though, before you continue on, I find that a lot of the problems of why people don't actually do these things, it's when you said, we're meant to live a life of joy and happiness each day. I think a lot of people have bought into the biggest lie, which is, as you get older, you have less desire, less fulfillment, less energy. As you are married for 28 years, you're not going to have those spring fling kind of feelings. And I know this because when I go to do different interviews or just the comments that I hear, just oh, well, this is really just for those new people dating out there. And people have bought into that illusion of life does not get better after a certain age. There's a cap to all things. And I think because of that, it influences really in our subconscious mind how we live life and how much of the day we actually utilize.
Yeah, we accept being downtrodden in some way, certainly over time.
In every area.
And again, what's both exciting and scary, which I think you do need that fear, is that unless you're doing these daily rituals, then you're actually going to find yourself in that downward spiral of entropy of life in all areas, when that's definitely not what life is supposed to be. And again, these rituals and any that our listeners, implement based on what we're sharing today, are their sole purpose is not, to have a nice addition to my day. It's really about uprooting ourselves from the general noise and flow of life into a different flow of life, which is the one that we're meant to be experiencing. But before I go to my next,
I'm sorry, because you inspired me again. So when you just said that, it reminds me, one of the ways, and this is why I really love cold plunges, when you get inside, you literally, it removes everything, noise. You're just trying to get through.
Well, that's interesting because Monica and I have been doing quite a lot of cold plunges together, and you like to talk.
I like to laugh.
I like to just be completely silent and not move, but you like to talk.
I do like to talk because I feel so energized.
Because it kind of contradicts a little bit of what you were saying.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, explain.
Because, I'll tell you what happens. Yes. I feel elated.
Yes.
And I think what I've realized about myself, when I'm happy, I'm chatty. And so
chatty,
I just, and it helps me pass the time. But my point is, if you weren't there, I think I'm just so excited to do it with you. When I'm by myself, no, I'd like to talk in the cold plunge. I can actually switch this around. But my point is that still you have to get to a place where it's really just about breath and about that flow of I'm in this moment. And you're really clear about what's important in the moment. In that moment, it's just about getting through with the breath so you feel okay, fight or flight, which one are you going to, you're so in that moment that all the noise is gone. My point is, when I have that experience, there is no outside anything, right? There is no worry. There is no, it's just this moment. So these tools that we're sharing, it's really about creating that kind of state in many different ways throughout your day, because you're not going to sit in cold water all day. Some people don't even like cold plunges, but it's about creating a shift of consciousness, creating a state of existence where you feel in flow all the time. And I really think that that's the power of what we're sharing today.
Yes. And so the next ritual and necessary daily ritual is what I call study. And I want to be very careful and then in what I mean, and then explain, because consciousness is very important, how it should be done. So study for me means reading something from ancient sages, spiritual giants. And I think when many people study, it has one purpose, which is, to gain information, to gain even wisdom, meaning I didn't know this before, and now I learned this piece of information or wisdom that can help me. And that's valuable and important, but that's not why I desperately need to do it daily. The reason why I desperately do it daily, just going back to what we were saying before, is that the natural state of this world, through the laws of physics, entropy, everything takes us down a road of deterioration. When you study and you are learning words of wisdom, and they could be from 2,000 years ago, they could be from 500 years ago, they could be from yesterday, but it's from, hopefully, it's from somebody who was of a more elevated state than you currently are. And by doing that, and this is a very important understanding, you're actually connecting your mind to their mind, your consciousness to their consciousness. So far and beyond any wisdom you learn, the actual process of learning from them connects your mind to their mind, elevates your consciousness to theirs. And that's the reason. Again, while it's true, and I often say this, I try not to go any day or even begin my day unless I've studied something that inspires me for that day, that wisdom, that new information, or even old information that resonates in a new way for me. Number one, that's sort of the basic level of understanding of wisdom. You have to have something new today. Otherwise, just from a basic level, if you have the same information and wisdom you had yesterday and the same inspiration, you're going to be repeating the same day today as yesterday. Mm-hmm. How is today going to be different? Today's going to be different because I'm going to study something that's going to inspire me and give me something new wisdom, new consciousness for today, so that my day today is going to be different. That's the one part of it. But the second part of it is as important, if not more important, and that is the conscious thought that I know that, and we're all, again, not to denigrate any of us, not even myself, we're all good people, spiritual people, but I know that the distance between where my consciousness is today and where it can be or is supposed to be, my ultimate state, is far beyond. And therefore I choose to attach my thought, my consciousness, to those souls that are higher than me. And then my day is going to be a different day, not just because I have new wisdom and information and inspiration, but because my mind is in a different place.
It's interesting. I have two thoughts as you're speaking. It's kind of like if you're looking at a picture of yourself as a child, right? You'd look, or even through the different ages of development, you'd look back and say, oh, I'm so different today, right? The changes are obvious because we can see them. But in this way, you should be able to see that even with your own consciousness, the choices that I made or the things that I said. Like I sometimes will see something that I taught and I'll see myself now and I'm like, well, I remember how I thought that was pretty good. I think I could get better than that, right? Or more confident, or whatever the case may be. And then I'll look and I'm like, wow, I'm really different today. You should be able to look back at yourself and say, even from yesterday, right? That's very lofty, but a year ago, I'm so different in my thinking and my actions and my being than I was. And this is how you get there. The other thing I find when I study from ancient teachings or wise people is it makes me feel small in a good way. It becomes very apparent how little I know and how much more there is to know. So I think it's important for each of us to make ourselves feel small in that way, to have humility and honesty that, whatever I've acquired into this day until now is still so very limited. And I don't know how you gauge that unless you do this. Absolutely.
And two other points regarding study. It's interesting. We recorded an episode that is going to come out soon with Ainsley MacLeod, who helps people find out their previous lifetimes, who they were, what they did, what they didn't do,
for the purpose of healing and really manifesting what you're supposed to do in the current life.
Right. And I often am inspired when I see people from all different spiritual modalities writing certain things that are very much in line with what the ancient Kabbalists taught. So one of the things he writes about is the reason it calls them, they're his guides or his spirit guides, are those souls who sort of have a bird's eye view of life, right? So most of us are sort of mired in the day to day and the confusion that comes with that. And then there are those souls that are more elevated who have a greater view, and they help us navigate in a better and more right way. And it reminded me of a teaching from a great Kabbalist, an Italian Kabbalist, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. He said, the reason why you want to study, or the reason why you want to really connect your consciousness and mind to those ancient sages, is he compares it to, in the olden days, and even probably today, you can find those mazes that people build, with vegetation, and you walk through them, and sometimes they're very big and you can get lost. And then imagine somebody who lives on the top of a tree who sees exactly the right way in and the right way out. He can direct you, oh no, make a left, make a right, and so on. So that's really what happens, whether consciously or unconsciously, when you study from great souls, is that you are now getting greater direction for your life. So you have more clarity about whether you make a right or a left, because you're still, stuck in the maze, but they're from above the maze and can see and direct you.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. So that's another element and reason why really I would say it's desperately needed. And again, I would say to our listeners, this, again, even though we sort of say that you can create your own rituals, this is one that I strongly believe that unless you're doing this on a daily basis, the chances of you living the day that you're meant to be living, and ultimately the life you're meant to be living, is impossible. Literally impossible. Literally impossible.
Also, then you know that you're not the only one to have the questions you have, or to have the doubts you have, or have the thoughts you have, because then you read from people who can actually answer those questions, or at least have that conversation too. So, before I said it makes us feel small in a good way, but I also think in a beautiful way, it makes us feel so much part of humanity and the world. It makes us, we see how we're all connected. I don't know how you navigate life unless you're constantly learning. Honestly, I would be, I would be miserable and confused. And I think that it's not even, you don't have to study all day. Take 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, and already have a list of books that you want to read. That's what I do. I have a pile on my desk. And even if I read one chapter, or I'll put a Post-it, or I'll inspire an idea, then I'll go back to it. And 10 minutes every day is not huge. The other thing amazing about study is that I think it's the one thing that really curbs our ego to, again, not allow us to lie to ourselves, not to say that I'm right or this is the way, because when you read about elevated ideas, you can't take this nonsense that seriously. Absolutely. Our own nonsense.
And I'll add one more, maybe deeper, important understanding. And that is that when we study, besides, as I said earlier, we're connecting our mind to the mind of those spiritual giants before us who can, give us greater direction in life. There's also an understanding that there's a divine thought. You can call it God, we call it the creator, or the light of the creator. And if our mind was connected to that divine thought that is not, something that existed once, but it is constantly true, so that for my day today, this divine path, meaning this is the path that if and to the degree that I'm 100% connected to the light of the creator, these are the decisions I'm going to make, these are the words I'm going to say, these are the actions I'm going to take. And in any given day, we're at 60% of that, every person depending on where they are in their spiritual journey. But the benefit of study is that you're not only, again, attaching your mind to the mind of spiritually developed people, souls. You can call them your spirit guides, you can call them your spiritual guides. You're actually also, through that, connecting them to the divine thought, your mind to the divine thought, so that your mind is now more in tune with that divine plan for your day. And you can make the more right decisions. You can say the more right words. You can take the more right actions, which
instead
is very
of being
important.
Clouded by the noise. Yeah. It's interesting because I had this thought about children. They often are, they're very pure. They say things that are often very true. They're tapped into something that we lose as we get older. You can call it intuition. You're saying like the divine thought, connection to the creator. And it reminds me that I shared with you, but I didn't share it with our listeners. A few weeks ago when Abigail and we went to Greenwich in Connecticut, Why are you smiling?
No. When you first said that, I thought you were going to share the dream you had last night.
Ha, 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 ha. Really? Did you really think I was going to share
No,
that?
that was the first thought that came to mind.
I don't know why that came to your mind. So,
well, listeners, I'm sorry to say Monica is not going to share her dream from last night.
I wouldn't want to embarrass you.
Yes, thank you.
So Abigail and I were in Greenwich, and we were doing a few errands. We were going to be in Connecticut, and a different town in Connecticut. And anyway, she said, I have a feeling we're going to run into somebody that we know today. And I said, well, we don't really know anybody in Greenwich. We know people in New Canaan, not really Greenwich. She's like, no, I have a feeling. I was like, okay. So we're doing our errands, whatever. We're now in a CVS there. And I was asking somebody who works there where a hairbrush was. And we go in that aisle and we're looking, and Abigail and I are in conversation. And this woman comes over to me and she's like, hi, can I ask you a question? And I knew by the way she was asking it, she wasn't going to ask me where the nail polish remover was. I was like, sure. She's like, is your name Monica? And I said, yeah. She's like, Monica Berg? I said, yeah. She's like, are you Abigail Berg? And she's like, yeah. She's like, do you have a podcast named Spiritually Hungry? I said, yeah. She's like, I knew it. I knew I recognized your voice. She was literally across the CVS and she heard me asking the saleswoman where the brush was. And she came over and she said, I recognized your voice. And it was such a nice conversation. She was so pleasant. She was so excited to connect for many different reasons. And it was really beautiful, which also like this idea of like, we're all separate and that it's all an illusion, right? So then I said, well, hi, Abigail, like you knew we were going to run into somebody. How interesting. And she's like, yeah. And then later we're driving now through Connecticut and she's like, I never see wild animals here anymore. For a while, I would see this animal, that animal. And I said, yeah, I wonder. Next thing you know, her window's down. This massive, enormous bird is about to like fly in our car. I don't know what kind of bird it was. I was driving and she's screaming, rolling the window up. And I said, wow, Abigail, your words are so powerful. Maybe you should ask for something like else. What do you want? Maybe you want to ask for like money or this, that. And she looks at me and all of her 10-year-old wisdom. And she said, no, I want to ask that I will know what my potential in this world is. I was like, oh my God, I want to be you. So that leads me to the next point. I mean, it's related, but really the power of speech, the power of our words, and also, and that where does the words come from? It starts with thought. So thought has to be connected to something that is true, that is deep. And then you are able to be more intuitive. You are able to navigate your life. You are able to tap into the answers that we all have. We have answers to every question, to every problem we might find. We actually have that information within. We just can't access it because we've polluted our minds. So I would say that the study, prayer, leads to more profound, true thought that heightens intuition, that then also helps us how we use our mouths and our expression and our words.
So you said you're referring to that as a ritual?
Yes, to be more mindful, 1,000%, to be more mindful of the words that come out of our mouths, especially first about how we speak about ourselves and then how we speak about other people, because it brings our energy down and all of that creates more blockages.
On that point, right, I think it's important we understand that everything we do, our thoughts, our actions, and certainly our words connect us to an energy, right? And if you generally understand that there's two forces in this world, there's light and there's darkness, there's creation and there's destruction, there's good and there's negative, that when a person, if are less mindful, right, and we allow ourselves to say negative words, negative sentences, we're actually connecting ourselves in that action to that force that is dark in this world. And that, of course, will then influence the way the rest of our day goes. So it's really important on a deeper spiritual level to understand that if and to the degree that one says negative words about themselves, about others, he or she is then actually tying themselves, connecting themselves, as opposed to everything we were saying until now, but that connects you to light and goodness and spiritual guides and so on, and divine plans. This actually connects you to the opposite.
So then what happens in that day, for instance?
Well, there'll be an effect of it, and of course it's all a balance of how the rest of the day was. How many positive words did we say? How many positive things did we do, and so on. But it's important to understand the consequence of a negative word, negative speech, is that it actually connects us to that force of entropy, that force of darkness and negativity.
I mean, I think this would be really interesting, and I know it's kind of going off on a tangent a little bit, but the 5 levels of, like there's the inanimate, right? The different, can you just go through those? Because I think that really is.
Oh, sure. Well, there's basically seen as 4 levels of, call it reality or existence, right? There's the inanimate, there's vegetation, there's animal, and then there's human.
And then the thoughts, right? That in the words, what are they called? Igia? What's that? You know what I'm talking about?
And 4 levels inanimate, you said?
No, of soul, of like there's thought, and there's deeper
ruach.
thought. Yes, that I thought would be interesting.
Well,
Because then it affects, right, how you.
Right, so by the talking about the 5 levels of soul.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Right, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechidah, which are basic level of soul, then spirit, then higher level of soul, life or alive, and singularity.
So can you explain this? Based on what you think and what you say and
Right,
your actions,
so
this affects the level.
So the actions affect what's called the level of nefesh, the lowest level of soul. The words that we use affects the spirit, the second level of soul. The words, ruach or spirit. The third, which are thoughts, are influencing the higher level of soul called neshama. And then there's what's called the pre-thought, or sort of the foundational consciousness that are influencing the higher levels of soul.
So what do you mean by pre-thought?
So, right, most of us, we have developed thoughts like, I want to go build a table. But that often comes before that. There's a pre-thought that comes before that, which is, I want to create, or it's, and usually we're more conscious of sometimes not even conscious of those, but we're more conscious of the manifested thoughts, the creative,
like a definitive thought.
Definitive thought,
might have,
as opposed to the first thought, I'm afraid, or, I'm happy, right?
Or like, I don't like the way my jeans fit. I don't like the way my jeans, and then you come to the conclusion.
I always like the way my jeans fit.
Of I am fat, whatever, like that you're
Right.
saying. There's a thought that usually we have hundreds of thousands of thoughts before a pre-thought, before we catch the thought, it becomes an actual
Right.
formalized thought.
Right.
So that's why all of these are so important, to be aware of your thoughts and your words, because
Right.
they do affect
The level of soul, different levels of our soul. Absolutely.
and you can go up and down from different levels, but it requires work and awareness.
Right. So the next one I wanted to share is something that everybody knows about, and maybe hopefully a different perspective around it. So meditation / prayer. So but we spoke previously about the importance of waking up with appreciation and different connections that one makes in the morning to start the day right. And again, there's many different levels of meditation, many different types of prayer, and they're all, I would assume, very positive. But my purpose, or the reason why I make sure every single day, as a matter of fact, more than once a day, I pray, is for this reason. One of the reasons why most of us fall short of living our potential is because we view our ability, strength within the confines of who I am right now. And I might be strong, I might be weak. But as we remind ourselves, hopefully often, there's a great distance between whoever I am right now and my actual potential.
Mm-hmm.
How do you bridge that gap? So when I meditate, when I pray, the purpose is some people view it as, I'm talking to God, right? This force outside of myself. But really what it is connecting to a force that is greater than who I am right now, right? So if I understand that there's me, the little me, even no matter how great I am, but there's this much greater me, right? You can call it God, you can call it the creator, you can call it the limitless light or power of your soul. And stopping in the day and saying, 1 second, I'm happy with who I am, doing great things, great day, but the true power that I can be connected to, the true force that I can be connected to, the true wisdom that I can be connected to is so much greater than what is currently manifest as me, right? And by doing that, you tap into that greater force, and you're able to then bring it into your day and bring it into everything that you're doing. That's
interesting. So that's your consciousness when you're praying, and you
right.
see it as a funnel, basically.
As it's what it really does two things. First, it's stopping me from the normal state of thought about who I am, right? And therefore what I can do and what my power is.
And your desires. And before you start with the whole, I'm going to put myself out there in this way with my desire, my thoughts, you basically wake up, you stop everything, and you kind of
and
reset.
I say, there's so much more for me, and maybe even more. There's so much more that I am than everything that I currently manifest as, everything that I currently exist as. And I want to connect to that greater force rather than just live the day within the confines of my current abilities, right? So for instance, again, how one does it is can be very personal. You know, in the Kabbalistic tradition, there's more formalized words that we use. Like, for instance, we speak about healing, we speak about sustenance, but all these quote unquote requests or prayers, their purpose is the following: to say, this is my current state, let's say even on the most basic level of sustenance, reading success in business, use that word, or the amount of money one brings in for his or her family. But I know that there is a much greater reality of sustenance. That's what I want to connect to. So whether you call it God, whether you call it the creator, whether you call it yourself in your strongest and greatest version, you need to connect yourself to that. As opposed to, and again, because if you are only going to manifest today and live today based on your current relatively limited state of being, then what you manifest will be relatively limited. But if you're taking, again, a few times throughout the day and stopping and saying, day is going really well. I love what I'm doing. I love what I'm saying. I love what I'm thinking.
Or the other.
Or not, right? But there's so much more that I can be connected to and then be able to manifest.
So I think for people, it might be hard to go from, yes, you can pause and you can go through the motions. It's not so much that you are even visualizing what that elevated self looks like, but rather you're connecting to the force that reveals it. Because you know what I'm saying? I don't know if people can.
Yeah, we'll finish your question.
No, I don't know if people can actually visualize it, think it's possible. Are you asking for assistance to give you the strength and the power to do it?
No, you want to be connected to a greader reality. You want to, right?
That you don't necessarily see. Not everybody sees that.
Well, you don't necessarily see it, right? So it's interesting. I was actually, I studied something really inspiring this week. You know, in the ancient spiritual traditions, we refer to this force that we call the creator, or the creative force, or the endless light. We call it light. Why do we call it light, right? And there's many different understandings, reasons given. But what I liked really, again, something that I read new this week, was that everything that we experience in life is confined within me. So when I hear something, I'm not hearing out there. I'm hearing, my voice is coming into my ear, and my mind is hearing it, right? Everything that we do and everything that when I touch, right?
You affect whatever.
Not affect. It's my experience is only what is happening inside. So if I feel this table right now, I'm actually not feeling the table. My fingers are experiencing the touch of the table. It's still confined within me. My mind then translated. So everything in life is all me.
Through lens of self.
Exactly. And the experience, right? So because if you ask a regular person, if you ask somebody, you know, when you hear, are you experiencing somebody else's experience, or was the experience, you know, personal, internal to you? Most of us would say, no, it's outside of me. I'm hearing you talking. No. But that's not really what's happening. That's
why so many times people, I'm like, I didn't say that. And they heard something completely different.
No, but I'm saying, right.
No, because they've now.
Right, but I'm saying even on a very physical, not just on a sort of an intellectual level. I might hear something different than what you're saying. But my experience of hearing is happening literally internally within my physical body. It is not occurring externally. And when I am feeling, that experience is occurring within my body. It's not occurring outside. So our experience of life is really occurring internally, and that leads to the thought of limitation. Because, well, if everything is happening, if my experience of life, whether consciously, unconsciously, is all happening within here, well, then that's all that there is. Light is the one thing that shows us that there are things outside of ourselves. If I'm home at night in the dark, right, all I know is me. I assume there's a room around me and there's a bed below me, and there might be other people out in the world. I just don't see any of that, right? So my experience in the darkness is only me, right? So it's me at the purest level, right? So when you're in total darkness, really all you know is that you exist there. You might hear noises, you might hear, even noises that don't exist, but you're
aware,
darkness.
But it's not your experience.
Yeah, but you're in darkness. Your experience is there's only me. Light shows you, there's actually more than just me. There's a whole expanse of a world outside of me. And that's really when we talk about, why do we refer to this creative force as light? Because it shows me, there's a greater, more powerful reality that exists for me. And that's why we refer to it as light. And going back to what we're saying, the reason it's so important, and again, although, trying to, give leeway to our listeners to choose, what they take on, what they don't, without this, what I would call a form of meditation or prayer, one will always stay limited. It's
anything, because again, prayer is very personal and individual, but it could be walking in nature. It's wherever you feel that you're connecting to something greater.
And the point is exactly. And by the way, there's many reasons to meditate, to pray, many other reasons, but for me, why I think it's both necessary, a daily ritual that is necessary, is because otherwise we remain within the confines of self.
That's such a powerful idea.
Which is limited, yeah.
That's such a powerful idea. And I think also, again, prayer or meditation can be movement for others. For me, movement, especially in places that I feel are beautiful, inspire me, and I'm able to tap into that kind of thing. The more I move, the more still everything else becomes, and I'm able to channel that more. So yeah, I think any which way. So that would lead me to, it seems like a less spiritual idea, but I think it's really important.
Exercise.
Because we are body, mind, and spirit.
Yes.
And I think oftentimes when people are on a spiritual pursuit, they neglect their health or they neglect their bodies. And we have our bodies for a reason, and we do feel, and we should take care of that as well.
I was actually studying
it houses
today.
Our souls.
I was actually studying today something which I find very, very much in line with what you just said. Is that spiritual people make the mistake of thinking that the soul is spiritual, the body is not, when in reality, the body is spiritual.
Exactly, well. Because it has a big job to do. It houses our soul and our spirit. And if it's not operating well and it's not healthy, it's going to limit what our souls can do. And if your body's not working well, then your soul's not going to be able to go out and do all that it should. So
I just want to just underscore that idea, because it's very powerful. Not because it's not just a tool for what they call the sacred or the holy or the spiritual. It actually is innately. The body actually is spiritual.
Well, yeah, people wouldn't understand why you would call body spiritual.
Right, because
the problem is how we focus on the body
and how we use the body. So
exactly.
There's different types of bodies. So, for example, there's an ancient teaching that says that for the elevated individual, their body is at the level of most people's souls. That they purified and elevated their bodies so much that their body is at the same level as most of our souls.
Interesting. So what does that mean?
Again, the purpose of the body, it's not just as a vehicle for the soul, but the purpose of life is also to elevate the body to the level of soul.
And how do you elevate the body?
Well, by using it properly.
Taking care of it and respecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think often we think, if I don't like my teeth, I'll just go get new ones. Then there's nothing wrong with pursuing those different things. But I think it is also about really respecting the body and its purpose. And often we just get focused on what it looks like. We focus on the things that are more obvious and apparent. You can't see soul, you can see body. So let's fixate on that. But spiritually speaking, I do think, and I know this as I practice it. And by the way, I wasn't healthy with my body when I was younger. Starving yourself is not the epitome of health. So I've learned to have a relationship with my body where I respect it and I hear it. And I ignore some of the thoughts that I have about it, right? It's been my struggle in this lifetime for sure. And I think that and that's why I'm so excited about adding things on, like cold plunges, different things. The more I respect and honor my body and treat it well, actually, the happier I feel, the more connected to my spirit and self and soul do I feel. And they are completely correlated. So I think it's super important, no matter what you do, to move every day, throughout the day, to sweat every day. We were meant to do that, to feed it well, you know, and to say kind things to it. I think that's a huge part of every single day throughout the day. And it's not something to put off for later in life, because your soul needs your body needs your soul.
Yeah, I completely agreed. I know we're a little bit over time, but I'll just share one thing, which I think is really important. And the Zohar speaks of it as a daily ritual, unless there's something.
No, I'm curious.
Forgiving everybody at the end of the day.
I love that. You're going to tell the story from
there's a famous story we might have shared way.
I don't think we have necessarily. It's maybe from the Zohar.
But the Zohar says, again, it's, okay, so I'll tell the story.
Yeah, I love it. It never gets old.
So the story is about two sages who were walking. And it's interesting, by the way, you mentioned using the body. Those of us who study the ancient Zohar, they're almost never studying sitting down.
They're always walking.
They're always walking.
The fields or the forest.
Which also represents the spiritual processes that they were going through, but also represent that real, inspiration and wisdom comes from walking in the fields, walking in nature. So in as they're walking, they sit down to rest, and they see another man, a little bit further away, sitting on a rock at the side of a hill, of a mountain, to rest as well. As he's sitting there resting, a snake comes out and it's coming towards him, a venomous snake. And another snake, as the first snake is about to bite the man and probably kill him, another snake comes and attacks the first snake and kills him. And the second snake goes away. First miracle, right? His life was saved. He didn't even know. He gets this man wakes up from his slumber, from his sleep. He stands up. As he stands up, he doesn't even look back, but the boulder he was lying on falls down the mountain. Had he sort of, not gotten up then, he probably would have, wound up with the boulder at the bottom of the mountain and probably dead. So two miracles happen to these people. So the two sages say to each other, this man is deserving of miracles. Let's find out his secret, right? Because that's really a spiritual person who when he or she sees something within somebody else, they really want to learn the miracle.
Can you pause there for a second? It's so beautiful, because often people in our reality, it's like, oh, that person is a miracle. Why don't I have that? Or they're lucky, I'm unlucky. And this idea of being curious, which is another tool, by the way, and it's a super powerful one, to go, if you see something that you don't understand or something that inspires you, go ask questions, find out. The fact that you've witnessed something, beautiful or not, in front of you is a calling for you to go and investigate. It's a huge thing that you and I both do. I think we're super curious and to explore that. But anyway, continue with the story.
So they go over to him and say, tell us about yourself. And they tell him, we just saw two miracles. And he's like surprised, because he, of course, didn't see them.
Yeah.
And so they ask him, what's your secret? And, if you think, was he a great person, a great sage, great wisdom, great actions? He says, there's only one thing that I do that I believe I merited these miracles, life-saving miracles for. He says, I never go to sleep at night unless I go through all the people that upset me, that wronged me, and I completely forgive them. And I will not go to sleep until and unless I've completely, but truly in my heart, not just saying words, because he's only, having this thought within himself, unless I wholly and completely forgive them. And so the Zohar teaches us, and this is why I think this is such a powerful daily ritual, is that before you go to sleep at night, if there's somebody who upset you, disappointed you, wronged you, not that they were right? But that if you want to have a miraculous day tomorrow, life-saving miracles tomorrow, and other miracles tomorrow, you want to do everything you can to completely forgive them before you allow yourself to go to sleep.
Such a powerful lesson.
So we hope that these have been inspiring for you, and maybe more importantly, that you actually start implementing them in your life. I actually have a few more left, but we'll keep that for another time. But before we conclude, I'd like to share something that one of our listeners, MJ, wrote. Again, a good reminder to all of our listeners: write your emails, comments, stories, inspirations, maybe base them on something we've shared in the past 2 episodes on daily rituals, to Monica and Michael at spirituallyhungry.life. Monica and Michael at spirituallyhungry.life. We read them, we share them with our listeners, so you have the opportunity to inspire us and also to inspire the rest of our listeners. So, absolutely fantastic! In the simple act of letting go and surrendering, it allows life to unfold exactly as it is supposed to. And along with that amazing gift, I don't have to always be in control, knowing that everything is always going to work out. Might not be exactly as I anticipated and planned, as I am a Virgo, and that's what I have a tendency to do. Mm-hmm. Letting go has allowed me not to take life too seriously and have fun along the way, even though so many times I'm saying to myself, quote, whoops, didn't see that one coming, but it's okay, end quote. Thank you very much for your podcast. Blessings to you both. Thank you, MJ. As I said, it inspires us to hear how this podcast helps every one of our listeners along this spiritual journey. So don't forget to share this podcast with everybody you know, write 5-star reviews, and to share your comments, maybe appreciations, questions, stories, topic ideas to Monica and Michael at spirituallyhungry.life. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it.
Stay spiritually hungry.